The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. Today is Tuesday, March 17th, 2020. Thanks so much for joining us. So much to cover. A lot happening around the world. Obviously, the coronavirus is at the center of everyone's attention, and the effects that it is having on everything. The havoc that it's wreaking on everything, from the primaries that should be taking place today. We'll discuss that in detail, great detail. All the way to the economy. The economy crashing and tanking yesterday. One of the largest drops in the history. We are in for some tumultuous times, and you know that already. You don't need to come to me for me to tell you the obvious. But we will talk about the politics of this. We will talk about the economic impact of this. And then more importantly, it's like, how do we survive this? And not just survive in the sense of not dying. Okay. All right. So obviously that's first and foremost. We want to make sure as many people as possible survive, literally survive this. We want to reduce the curve. We want to flatten the curve as much as we possibly can, so that we don't overwhelm our health systems. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo said yesterday that he just doesn't believe that it is possible for New York in particular to flatten the curve enough to not overwhelm their system. Take a listen in.
The concept is right. Flatten the curve, slow the spread so the healthcare system can handle it. When they say this, I don't think of a curve. I think of a wave. And the wave is going to break, and the wave is going to break on the hospital system. We're doing everything we can to flatten the curve. I believe we've taken more dramatic actions than any state in the United States. I believe we've had the most effective response of any state in the United States. I don't believe we're going to be able to flatten the curve enough to meet the capacity of the healthcare system. So in this business, plan ahead, plan forward. Mm-hmm. Anticipate what's coming down the road and get ready for it.
I left that last part in. I normally like to clip the clips very short so that you can just get the essence. But that last part at the end is what I've been talking about with the patrons. Like we have a responsibility to be prepared for the eventual, right? If it's something that's probable, if it's something that's plausible, then we have a responsibility to take adequate steps to prepare for it. We knew the coronavirus existed. It's called the novel coronavirus, but it's not because we had no idea that it existed. It existed, and we could have been preparing a vaccination, but we don't live in a society that actually prepares. And now because we haven't prepared, now we're looking at all of our hospital systems being inundated and overwhelmed. So not only are we a society that doesn't prepare, but we're also a society that doesn't take things seriously. There are beaches. I mean, we talked about all the parties that happened over the weekend for St. Patrick's Day all over the country. Yesterday in Florida, you had beaches that were open and jam-packed. So not only are we a society that doesn't prepare, we're also a society that doesn't take things seriously. And we are a society that, unfortunately, I don't know that we have the capacity to have a social contract between individuals such that we can operate in unison without the need of a government enforcing mandates. In other words, I don't know that we have it in us to just simply self-quarantine and do what's in the best interest for ourselves without the government having to force a mandate, force a quarantine. New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut all jointly banned crowds of over 50. They banned dining out. They shut down gyms. I mean, they're doing everything that they can, but still people are going out. And so the problem is, do we have it in ourselves to act in concert as individuals to get some collective action, or do we require the force of the government to control us? I don't know. It's looking back. Like, I would like to believe that humanity does have the capacity to self-regulate without the need of punitive action from a government. But it doesn't look like that's the case. So anyway, the coronavirus is screwing things up all over. I'm sorry. It's just a little frustrating, man. It's a little frustrating because, I don't even know if the president of the United States, not just because it's Donald Trump, right? I don't even think Barack Obama could effectively seep into the consciousness of the American body politic and suggest that we self-isolate or social distancing and all that kind of stuff without the force of government to go in and make sure that that's happening, right? I do think Donald Trump is uniquely fit to exacerbate the situation and that a lot more people are going to die because he's president versus, let's say, Hillary Clinton. I do believe that that's the case because he's feckless. He's ignoring the facts. He's trying to make profit off of this situation. He's an objectively evil person. But at the same time, the recommendations that came from the White House yesterday were excellent in terms of social distancing and no groups larger than 10. I just don't think that people in America are going to take recommendations. I don't, because we're so individualistic. We have such narrow, myopic view of our responsibility, of our social responsibility. I mean, what the hell? We don't even believe we have a social responsibility. We believe it's like whatever is best for us. We got to get ours. We got to secure our bag. I'm not even, and this has nothing to do with us asking people to stay home who can't stay home, who have to go to work, and that ongoing conversation. It has nothing to do with that. I'm talking about people who, quite frankly, have got nothing else to do because universities are closed so they could stay home. Schools are closed so they could stay home, right? Their jobs allow them to work from home, but then we still have people going out to the bar. Listen, if anybody can stay away from the party scene, let me rephrase that. If I can stay away from the party scene, which is one of the reasons why I will never run for office, because I do like to party, right? Quiet as it's kept, I stay on the scene. And this situation has forced me to stay my butt home and to stay. I mean, I shouldn't be out as much as I normally am out, but that's besides the point. The point is we have the capacity to flatten this curve significantly if we go home. But the government doesn't want to force that because, one, it's a bad look. We don't want to seem authoritarian like China. But China, being as authoritarian as it is, they've gotten a grip on their situation. We, on the other hand, are just at the very beginning of it. And the government is like, well, maybe if you think it's the best thing, you should probably stay out of groups of 10 people or more. We think we're going to be able to get this under control by August. August, ladies and gentlemen. I think that is optimistic. I think August is optimistic. Literally, they said that this Donald Trump said, actually, let me play the clip.
So it seems to me that if we do a really good job, we'll not only hold the death down to a level that is much lower than the other way, had we not done a good job. But people are talking about July, August, something like that. So it could be right in that period of time where it washes through. Other people don't like that term, but where it washes through.
So is this the new normal until the height of the summer?
We'll see what happens, but they think August, could be July.
August is pretty optimistic. August is optimistic as hell. We're talking about at least a year. They just started trials yesterday for the vaccine. So we're talking about a solid year to a year and a half. This may be, not maybe, this is our new normal. And there's only one way we survive this new normal, and that's by doing what we've been advocating for. We need our government leaders. We need you to do something, be useful for a change, and go ahead and institute universal basic income. Universal is the operative word. It has to be universal. Nobody has time for means testing right now. Nobody has time to be submitting paperwork. And then who's going to review the paperwork? Who's going to review the paperwork during the middle of a pandemic? Make it universal. We need a minimum of about $5,000 a month each, or per household. Okay, you can cut it down significantly by doing it per household. The most people can do at this time is just to go and register to get this money. How are you going to do the census? How are you going to do the census this year? Your best way of doing the census is really to get each household to register. Register. This is how you do it. In order to get the $5,000 a month, go ahead and register online to do the census. Do the census online. No more. Nobody's going canvassing door to door to make sure that every person does the census. That's not going to happen this year. But every person is going to need this $5,000 a month. In addition to that, for us to survive this, it's not just about handouts. It's also, because it's not handouts in the first place, it's the people's money. But it's also about putting a moratorium on debt collection, on credit cards, payments, on everything, because what you need to keep the system afloat is the same thing that you need to keep people alive. But what that means is that a couple of things are revealed. One, how critically valuable labor is, how utterly dependent the system is on consumption, right? And how powerless billionaires are if the people are empowered to not participate. If the people are empowered, if labor and consumption, if they are empowered to not participate in the system, there's no such thing as billionaires. And that's the only reason we have not gone the full distance we need to go to make sure that we save lives. Because once you show the people that the government has the ability to suspend evictions, foreclosures, a moratorium on repossessions, and a moratorium on utility cutoffs, gas and water and electric cutoffs. Once you show the people that the government has the ability to do that and has the ability to, instead of pouring in over $2 trillion into the stock market, they have the ability to put that money to the people. Once you show them that, you loosen the chains, the mental, economic, and societal chains on the people. That's why they're hesitating so badly. They don't know if they would rather the system tank completely or empower the people. But we're running out of time. We're significantly running out of time because we are getting towards critical mass. Listen, there's a lot that I have to talk about. I have a lot of voicemails. I have 20 voicemails. We're going to get those voicemails in to make sure that you say your piece. But I want to say a couple of things. One, this is going to last a long time. Two, it's very unfortunate, but because of the behavior of this president and the incompetence of this administration, because of people not heeding warnings, I think we're going to be faced with some very difficult days ahead. Very difficult. I mean, social media is going to amplify stories that I believe are going to be traumatic. When you think about it, I mean, I'm not trying to bring you down. I'm trying to prepare you. Okay? Trying to prepare you. If this goes as bad as everyone is saying that it could, as the experts are saying that it can go, you can expect stories of death, of people dying in their homes, at a scale so large that they're not even going to be able to recover the bodies soon. Okay. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people potentially dying unless we shelter in place, unless we do it and seize it and halt it now. We are behind the curve, but we're not so terribly behind the curve that we can't still save a lot of lives. And I just believe that if we don't do what is necessary, we're going to see a lot of tragic stories. It may come to a point where we just have to cut social media off because people are going to be crying for help. People are going to be crying for help, and there's not going to be anyone to go help them because all of our doctors are getting sick. I mean, in addition to all that, I mean, there's so much more. Like, we have the capacity. There's a couple of manufacturers who are saying we have the capacity to increase our ventilation production 5-fold. But we're not doing that yet because we're not a society that prepares. We'll talk about all this and more after the Patron party.
Go to www.patreon.com/the BPD show and support the Benjamin Dixon Show.
And here we go. We are going to always party on this show, not just because we have new patrons, but because it's cathartic. So everybody just bop your head for a second. That's it. Shake it all loose. I know we have some tumultuous times in front of us, but let's celebrate. Very special welcome to Sky Canoe. Actually, I think I welcomed you yesterday, but welcome twice. Robert Gainan, Mir Y, thank you for becoming a patron. James Gomez, thank you for becoming a patron. Rachel Harrison, thank you for becoming a patron. Kenny, thank you for becoming a patron. Evan, Giovanni, and David Atkinson, thank you all for becoming a patron. You too can become a part of this prestigious and prodigious family by going to www.patreon.com/the BPD show, where you get twice the content without any of the annoying ads that you should be hearing right about here. Okay. All right. Yeah. You never know what you're going to get on this show. You never know if you're going to get an extremely serious and kind of obsessive compulsive focus on the intensity of the moment, Ben Dixon, because I do that, as well as the one that's like, hell, F it. Let's just celebrate life. Let's just enjoy ourselves, man. So I can't promise you what type of show you're going to have during this apocalypse, but I will promise you that I want to hear from you, that I want to hear your voices, and your voices matter. So let's take a listen to some voicemails.
Hey, this is JB Fonts, one of your followers on Instagram. Good morning to Mr. Benjamin Dixon. Just wanted to answer your tweet about the questions about the coronavirus outbreak. As for me, I am okay. I'm actually one of those people who are at risk heavily. They say people who are elderly and people who have compromised immune systems. That being said, I am a dialysis patient. I do have a compromised immune system, so I am the person that's prime at risk. So I am staying my behind indoors. Unfortunately, I do have a doctor's appointment today, totally unrelated to coronavirus, but I will be back home shortly after that. But as for the things that I'm doing right now, currently, I'm not employed, so I don't have to worry about that. But if they were to try to give a stimulus package, that would really greatly help me, because being on disability, you really don't make much, and this would help me out a great deal. As for how the coronavirus is, how I think about it, how the world is reacting to it, I honestly think that this is actually a couple weeks too late in their response. I think we should respond to this aggressively earlier, especially since we are, now seeing deaths on the rise. And if we had implemented policies like some that you adequately stated, moratorium on basically major bills, even including things like car repossessions and things like that, I think that would have been the best choice to do.
Yeah, man. Listen, thank you for that call. Be sure to take care of yourself, and everyone, please, if you can stay in. I can't stress that enough. Like, if you're not privileged enough to stay in, I get it. No one is talking to those of you who don't have the luxury. It is a luxury. It is a privilege, but this is the one way that we can help. We can help by making sure that we are not occupying beds in a hospital ICU because we decided to go to a bar crawl, versus someone who had to go to work because they are an essential employee, or someone who had to go to work because they were literally getting ready to be put out, and we haven't instituted a moratorium on evictions yet, so they had to go get that last check. And some of them are going to get sick. And if those of us who are privileged enough to stay home didn't stay home, and we went to a bar and we got coronavirus, and now we're occupying a bed, then that person is likely to not get the treatment. And we're not talking about hypotheticals here. We're talking about real deal life and death. Real deal life and death. Every bed that those of us who can stay home do not occupy in the ICU, that's one more person who gets treatment that needs it. Okay, next voicemail.
Hey, Ben. I work with the public in the grocery business, well, the front side. And I live in North Carolina, where there really hasn't been much of the effect of the virus seen yet, but people have still bought out shelves of toilet paper. People bought out food items. People are pretending or are half in one world, half the other. They're pretending there's a disaster on the corner, and on the other hand, nothing's really happening, and we're all going to be fine. And I think this kind of this cognitive dissonance, this dual reality, is going to like a quantum photon, like become fall on one side of the barrier, and no matter which side it falls on, people are going to be hurt. I fear for my parents. I fear for like our future, because as you know, bad actors will always use a crisis to pretend to want to help, but in reality, they'll just be using it to seize authority, and you know the rest.
Yep. Thanks so much for that call, my friend. I think on two levels, we have to be vigilant against two things. There are organizations that are going to try to collect your money during this time. There are organizations that are going to try to collect your money during this time and tell you that they're going to be doing good for people, the coronavirus. Do not donate to anyone unless you have seen evidence that they have been successful in other fundraising efforts, right? Make sure, like, if you know the Red Cross has a piss poor track, I'm just using them as an example. Like, I'm not going to call them out specifically, right? I'm not going to discuss what happened in Haiti, but just for example, because I haven't seen anything from the Red Cross yet. So I'm literally using them as an example so that I don't have to call out the real organizations that I'm talking about that go underneath the guise of being progressive, but they're really just grifting. Unless you have seen an organization have successful results in their fundraising to help and assist people in times of crises, do not give them your money. Okay? Because people are going to be hustling this for cash. Do not do it. Make sure you check their track record. That's like if I turn around and ask you to donate money to my new organization because we're going to help people during this crisis, you should really pause and say, does Ben have the capacity to actually do that? Does Ben actually have the skill set to do that? Or is he just really a prolific communicator and can, talk us through this? I never really knew Ben to be an efficient organizer of crisis aid. Okay. So if that's what you've known me for, why would you give me money in times of crisis to help people? Okay. So please be wary of these organizations that are coming to collect your cash. I've seen the emails already. Okay. That's number one. Number two, there are authoritarians in our midst, both right-leaning as well as left-leaning. I don't care what their political ideology is. At the end of the day, there are people who would love to seize power and seize control over our government in the time. Now, listen, don't get me wrong. Our government needs a makeover. All right. Our government needs basically, if another nation had as many problems with the coronavirus and with elections as we have, we'd be calling for regime change in that nation. Okay. So that's how we look at America. That's how pathetic America is right now. But on the flip side, you have people with far more nefarious intentions than what we're currently suffering under who would love to seize power at this time. So we just have to be vigilant and make sure that we understand all the things that they are putting in place to try to control this outbreak are systems that they would try to keep in place to control society in better times. So we have it's not Corona. It's not Corona. We have to make sure, I'm so stupid. We have to make sure that we're vigilant across the board. Okay, next voicemail.
Black Bernie brother here. I'll just say a little bit about how I feel about the election, because I think it directly affects how I feel about, the virus and the pandemic and the crisis that's, upon us. It's sad, looking at the numbers, looking at the states that are left, the delegates that are, yet to be given out. And, Bernie's chances aren't looking, the greatest. And it's really sad because it has nothing to do with the organization, has nothing to do with the grassroots, the volunteers, the calls that have been made, the money that's been raised, because Biden didn't have any of that. Biden didn't have any type of ground roots, infrastructure holding him up, and propelling him into Super Tuesday. All it was name recognition. All it was people saying to themselves, okay, well, it's time to consolidate. I can't vote for the left guy. I can't vote for the crazy socialist guy. So they all consolidated around one person who they probably don't even know anything about.
Yep.
And what that proves to me is that not only are we not prepared for a pandemic, we're not prepared to move forward. And that's scary. That's scary that in 4 years or that in 2-3 years, we can not only be, maybe dealing with another pandemic, dealing with a war, dealing with climate change, but we're going to be dealing with a healthcare crisis, the likes of which we've never seen, so I'm fearful, and I'm gonna save as much as I can and, do as much as I can and buy a gun. I mean, honestly, because it's getting scary out here.
Yeah.
You got Nazis out here at rallies, dropping Nazi flags and that's scary. You got people out here with guns talking about civil wars. That's scary.
Thanks so much for that call, brother. And if I spent so much time editing the Bernie Bruh video, I think I feel like I recognize your voice. I feel like you're the guy who was talking about talking to the elders of the community, that Joe Biden is ineffective. He's harmed us with policy. Do I remember right? Because you sound just like that, brother. Anyway, you're right. It is a damning statement about how dysfunctional our society is. It's terrifying because we're so unprepared. We're so unprepared for what we knew was going to be inevitable. People were writing books about a pandemic. Hell, there's a whole movie like I saw many, many years ago, like 10 years ago, called Contagion. I think that's the name of it. And I watched it at the time, and it's playing out almost exactly like that, except we're lucky enough that this isn't a form of meningitis. They had I don't even know if meningitis could be airborne. So when I laugh, I'm laughing because I hope the plot of that movie was so ridiculous that there's like no way that meningitis could ever be airborne. That's why I'm laughing. So I don't actually want to Google and find out. I'm sorry. Let me get off that tangent. But the point is, we knew this was happening. We knew that this was coming. We knew about the coronavirus, and we did nothing to prepare for it. We could have had a vaccine already. They could have started on a vaccine 5 years ago. They knew the coronavirus was here. They just did not preemptively prepare for it. I guess all preparation is preemptive. But anyway, you get the point. The point is that if we continue as a society that does not prepare for the inevitable, then we are going to inevitably be destroyed. Because what else is looming? The climate disaster is looming right in front of us, and we don't have the political will to actually do something about it. So what did Mother Nature say? Mother Nature was like, F you, I'm going to fix this myself. I think the earth has a vested interest in preserving as many humans as possible, because emissions are going down now. Our carbon footprint is decreasing significantly right now. Can you imagine how clear the air is in China right now? So the earth has a way of taking care of itself. But if we as a species do not begin to prepare for the inevitable, if we do not begin to act responsibly and still not be dependent on the government to force us, that's my biggest fear. My biggest fear is that we don't have the capacity amongst us to do something in the form of a social contract, an agreement, like we all agree. Depending on what state you're in, whether you're in the North or the South, we all agree to shake hands in the South as a social contract. And now we're changing that social contract. We're not going to shake hands. We're going to, elbow bump or fist bump, right? Elbow bump is preferred. We could change that slight social contract, but because it's embedded, like it's going to be embedded in our heads, just like a formal greeting in the South. You say, hey, how you doing? In the South. Up north, it's totally different. The social contract up north is, don't say shit to me. I won't say shit to you. Don't look at me when I walk down the street. I won't look at you when you walk down the street. And let's just keep some social distancing going on. Right? So we have these social contracts, but now it's requiring a social contract that is so big that we can unanimously decide, or at least the great preponderance of us, even if not a majority, we do need the majority. We do need the majority of people to do this, to make an agreement that we will shelter inside, everyone who can shelter inside on behalf of those who can't. We've got to evolve as a society, people. We have to.
COVID-19 is going to change the way we do things in that people are going to realize, or companies or institutions or education, that things can be done at home through the internet and technology in ways that it's been practical for at least a decade, but because of tradition and generations and things, we've still done things in person. So my belief is that when we're out of this, a lot of people will not be returning home, and even children. This is where we move into the digital age, in the sense that things can be done without having to have everyone in one person.
Yep. Agreed. Next voicemail.
Hey, Ben, this is Marco. We're at the Amsterdam airport returning to the U.S. We're going to stop by New York's JFK. So hopefully we don't miss our connecting flight. Pulling up pretty well over here. We're going to self-quarantine for 14 days after we get back. It looks like we will probably do some sort of UBI by the end of all this. But it probably won't get settled for at least 6 months or so. But we'll see what happens when we get back.
Hey, Ben. My name is Isaac from Wisconsin. So far, I work in the Twin Cities, Minnesota, St. Paul, and things are starting to really kind of pick up here as we've jumped up to 40 cases in the area. And so far, things haven't gotten super bad as far as stress on hospitals and stuff. All the stores are bought out. But what's really happening is my entire family, for most of my life, has worked in food service, and I'm working in construction. I mostly do small residential work, so the places in which I'm allowed to travel for my job have been limited, but it's my family in food service has really been the most affected. Capacity at the restaurant has been cut in half, or it's limited to 50 people, whichever number is smaller. So my parents are probably going to be out of jobs, and there is no current plan on the table for us for mortgage relief. They're parents of 8 kids, 6 still living at home. So a lot of people close to me losing jobs and really having absolutely nothing to fill that void, and no financial security. And we're just looking at an incredible 2 week, I think, around 2 weeks ahead from now, we're going to see, just from what I've seen, a collapse unlike anything anyone I know has ever witnessed. My job is still kind of safe for now. I'm going to be cutting back hours, going to be not working at houses that people are already at, but in new house builds or something, I'm going to manage, I think, to maintain my position for the time being, but it's all dicey, it's all up in the air, and this is something unlike anything I or anyone else I've ever seen has ever witnessed.
Hi, Benjamin. I'm Canadian. I'm an American living in Canada, and we are having a much different experience than you guys in the States. We can get testing. Our government has said they'll take care of bills. Don't worry, just stay home. We're going to work it out. The utility companies are vowing not to cut anything off and to work with people after this is over. I actually have a podcast I started about the differences living under what Bernie is proposing versus what we struggle with in the United States, called Becoming Canadian on Anchor. Anyway, I'd love to talk to you or talk to anybody in Canada. It's a completely different experience. The only thing we're afraid of is getting sick. We're not afraid of losing our homes or our jobs or anything. We can go to the doctor. That's all covered for free. All we have to worry about is the illness and how it might hurt us and those that we love, not how we're going to pay our bills or anything like that. So hang in there, you guys, in the States, and hopefully Bernie will get in, and, you know, Americans won't have to live in such a barbaric existence.
I love how she put it. She said, all they have to worry about is not getting sick versus having to worry about their bills in the meantime, We are at a critical juncture in world history, in American history, and in this history of humanity. We have to fundamentally change our social contract, and we're having to change it immediately. We're not being given an option. It's either we change how we treat each other, how the government treats us, how capital treats labor, how capitalists and billionaires treat consumers, how employees are treated by their companies. Either we change that or millions of people die. This is not hyperbole. 40 to 70% of Americans will be infected by this disease if we don't flatten the curve now, if we don't seize it. If the bulk of those cases happen in March, then we are going to see a level of destruction in our system that we've never experienced before. And all it requires, I'm saying all, but this is revolutionary, right? All it's going to require is that the government provides a universal basic income that can assuage the anguish of people who don't know how they're going to pay their bills. Otherwise, people are not going to stay home. We have been so conditioned in this economy. See, I've been a wild card my entire life. There's never been a point in my life where I wouldn't just say, F this job. That is a luxury. That is a privilege. It's not because I had money. It's because I just have the arrogance enough to say, absolutely take this job and shove it up your ass. I've got so many stories I could tell you. It's actually hilarious. One of the last gigs I got, the employer recognized that about me. And she was like, Ben, I'll bring you on. I just don't want you to come in here and blow everything up. And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, you strike me as one of those people that if you see something that you don't like, you'll burn the whole thing down. And I was like, yeah, you goddamn right. That's exactly who I am. So it's a privilege. Like it is a mindset, but I've never been so beholden to this system. Like I would tell, come get the car, come repossess it. You want to evict me? Fine. I'll go live somewhere. I'll find a place to live. Right. You're not going to hold me hostage to this system. I've always been a rebel against the system. And so that mindset is not one that is normal. It is not one that's necessary, admirable during normal times, because that has led to pretty much a life of a lot of instability. But I digress. That's who I am. That's part of my makeup. That's just who I am. I think it's a necessary attitude to have now. And I won't, if I can't give you anything else, I'm going to give you more of show. That's the least I can do. We're going to go at least 45 minutes in the public show and 45 minutes in the private show for patrons. But if I can't give you anything else, it is the spirit of I do not give a shit about this system. I care about me and my family and my circle. I will not put myself at risk on behalf of people who I'm just going to turn money over to pay bills. Now, I don't expect you to get like that overnight. But I honestly think that's part of the calculus. That's part of how we have to shift society. We cannot be slaves to this system to the point of death. We are slaves to this system right now. Some of you are slaves to this system. All of us are slaves to the system in one way or the other because that's how the system is designed. Okay, let's be clear. This is not a moral judgment against anyone because all of us, just like I'll say I'll say F it to bill collectors. I'll turn around and consume the hell out of stuff. I'll be on the scene. I'll be somewhere partying. I'll be at the bar, buy everybody another round, So it's not a moral judgment against anyone. Everyone serves this system one way or the other, right? But it's the fact that we have to change right now in a moment, in 1 month, we're having to change the face of society. So it's a terrifying time, but it's also an opportunity for us to fundamentally change how we participate in the system, whether we participate through consumption, whether we participate through labor, however we participate in the system, we have to fundamentally change it for us to survive. More voicemails.
Hi, Benjamin. My name's Jonathan Munitz. I just had a quick question for you regarding the coronavirus. A lot of progressives have currently come out in favor of a universal basic income, whether as a temporary measure or a permanent measure to be able to address the economic fallout from the coronavirus. I'm wondering what your thoughts are of why Bernie Sanders has been so late to the party in joining for universal basic income. Thanks.
Don't put me on the spot like that, man. Come on. What are you trying to do? Trying to get me canceled? You trying to get me to get all the Bernie Sanders supporters to stop following me? What the hell kind of question? It's actually a great question. And I'm concerned that Bernie is not seizing upon this. I think what it is that Bernie is not a natural politician, and that Bernie operates in based on his core fundamental beliefs, right? I think he has a set of beliefs that guides him, and that excites us, and we love it because he's principled. But also along with being principled comes the rejection, or at least dragging of the feet on some critical issues that now Mitt Romney is coming to the left of everybody, suggesting that we should have $1,000 a month universal basic income. Well, $1,000 a month is not going to shore up the economy. You're going to have to do at least $5,000 a month to really shore up the economy, and actually as a great stimulus. Like, can you imagine? I'm going away from the answer for a second, but can you imagine $5,000 a month hitting your account during this time? I mean, you're going to spend, and you should. We need you to. The consumer economy needs you to, right? You're going to spend online. It's going to change the nature of our economy, but we'll still have an economy. People will get jobs online. Do you know how much online hiring could take place right now if we had $5,000 a month of basic income? I mean, there would be so much online hiring. There would be so much revenue circulating. It all will be web-based. So you will have, a lot of people will lose jobs. There will be winners. There will be losers, but we'll still have an economy, and people will still be able to pay some bills. But I'm going to get back to your answer in a second. I know I'm not filibustering, but this is something I'm passionate about. It's like, there will be winners, there will be losers, there will be some bills paid. But here's the thing, like, our system is so designed to just extract and exploit as much as it can out of us. It's designed to extract wealth out of our debt. So they're not quite sure that they're ready to actually give us some income that can change that paradigm, because they've done so well over the last 40 years extracting wealth out of our debt. Why would they want to change the paradigm now, even if that means saving their own lives? Okay, so now back to the question that may get me canceled. I just don't think Bernie is a natural politician. He's not seizing the opportunity on a lot of key things, and that's okay. Bernie has been, listen, I have no idea how this is going to play out. I'm not going to give you false hope. Like these primaries that are going on today, you might have like 20% show up that normally show up. There's no telling what today is going to look like. But I will tell you this about Bernie. What he has done is that he has given us the boost that we need to move forward. And we as progressives have to take a long-term view here. I know it's not exciting, and I know it's frustrating, especially for people of all ages. But I think young people who really want to see something happen fast, that's really never how it has ever happened in our country or in the world. Like, we have to take a long-term view of it. And I think the coronavirus is going to help us with that, because we're going to be stuck inside for a long time. We're talking about at least 6 months to a year, ladies and gentlemen, that we're going to be stuck inside. Okay. From our normal, quote unquote, normal activities. So that being the case, I think it's going to develop a level of patience in the progressive movement that won't see us give up if Bernie loses the primary. And the reason I phrase it like that is because Bernie hasn't seized upon the narrative. Right now should be, and don't get me wrong, I think he's making some effort with Medicare for all, right? Which is a great argument right now. But at the same time, the better argument would be the more to really, I know he's taking the lead on it. Like after I tweeted it, and then AOC tweeted it, and then he tweeted it. It was a 3-step process that I'm going to take credit for. No, not really. Seriously. The thing is that I know he has said some things, but he hasn't taken the lead on these things. Like, there's a difference. And I think everyone can see the difference when Bernie takes the lead on things. He has taken the lead on Medicare for all, and we couldn't be where we are right now without him doing that. But we do need him to take the lead on the universal basic income and the moratorium. And when I say take the lead, I mean to hammer it like it was his Medicare for all. Because one, that's what we need to survive right now. But number two, immensely politically productive. It's good. It's good politics. It is. It's very rare that you could get good politics to align with what's good for humanity. And here's one: universal basic income, moratorium on all evictions, foreclosures, repossessions, and utility disconnects immediately for us to survive. I've got at least 10 more voicemails and a whole lot more to say, but that's my music. If you want the rest of the show, go to patreon.com/the BPD show and become a patron for as little as $3 a month. If not, I'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody, and stay safe.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/the BPD show and support the Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
Hey man, this is a fellow Atlanta resident here. Much love to you. Right now I'm holed up at my work. I've been working at a coffee shop and it's before opening. But to be honest with you, I don't know why I'm here because hardly nobody's gonna show up today. And it's tough, man. I feel for, the owner of this place. It's a mom and pop shop. That the owner is elderly. I worry for his safety. And also I'm worried for me and, my income. I don't have a backup. I don't have something to fall onto. So it's tough, but it also just makes me sick to see those in charge bailing out petro companies, bailing out the people, the same goddamn people who were in charge 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And who are responsible for that economic crisis. It just makes me think that nothing has been learned. And nothing has changed. One thing that gives me hope is, and the one thing that has changed maybe, is I feel like there's a movement happening here where people are wising up a little bit to what's been going on.
Yeah. Thanks for that call. That's the greatest fear. I have to say that is the greatest fear of the powerful, of the ruling elite, that individuals will realize the power that we have. That is the most critical thing in this entire conversation, the power that we have. Now, we have to survive. And I think we will. I'm sure we will. I'm confident that we will. I believe that enough of you will shelter in place and we're going to take some losses. We are. And I hope and I pray earnestly that it's none of us, that no one connected to any of us, whether you're a listener, like your extended family. I hope my sincerest plea is that everyone in your family will be just fine. I pray the same for my family. But we're going to, as a society as a whole, take some losses. America particularly. And my biggest hope is that I'm completely wrong. I hope that some miracle happens and there's a vaccine that's developed in 3 weeks instead of a year, right? We could hope for anything, right? I'm just throwing it out in the atmosphere. I hope that most of us who get this are just like, and we're good. But in terms of reality, we have to be prepared for what's getting ready to come. And once we are prepared for what's getting ready to come and we survive what comes, like right now it's just inconvenience. I think in a couple of days, if this plays out the way that they're saying, it's going to be traumatic. So let's just prepare ourselves emotionally for that. And then we can look at what happens next. Because I think what happens next is a fundamentally transformed society for the better. It has to be. I'm getting ready to play audio for you that's taken out of a video of a woman who is a nurse, and she is hilarious. And this is funny as hell. That's all I can say. Listen to her as she explains her experience at a grocery store.
Middle-aged woman. And up until today, I have managed to not ever have to do a rant video on Facebook, but apparently today is my day. Just left the grocery store, and as we all know, the coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever we're calling it this week, has driven people completely insane. And the woman in line in front of me, just apropos of nothing, just starts shrieking at the poor little guy ringing her up that he has just touched his face and that he therefore must wash his hands. Just shrieking this to the top of her lungs, so I'm assuming she surely to God must be the head of the CDC because she says it with such conviction. And by the way, lady, you're not supposed to touch your face. Doesn't really matter so much if he touches his. I digress. The little guy says, I can't wash my hands right now. She says, I'll wait. Great. Well, I'll wait, I guess, lady. He says, I have hand sanitizer. So he takes like a quarter of a little squirt, does this little thing on his hands for about a quarter of a second, which basically would have just served to incite a riot and maybe kill off 2 small, weak germs, to which the head of the CDC in her kitten-covered lab coat nods and fervently agrees that he's, saved the universe with that. He kind of refrains from rolling his eyes, which I think makes him a saint. And then she goes on to whip out her credit card and use the debit pad that every finger-licking, booger-picking, double-digit IQ idiot has touched all day long after going to the bathroom and not washing their hands. And then she just walks on out with her groceries, completely oblivious to the fact that everyone who handled those groceries prior to her getting them has left their little touch and trace of germs all over them. That going down the conveyor belt, they probably picked up chicken juice and everything else. But thank God that kid used that quarter of a squirt of Purell. She has saved the day and kept us all safe from the coronavirus. Y'all, it doesn't matter what we do. There's so many stupid people in this world. We're never going to survive anyway. So touch your face. Just touch it. Just touch it. It's all that's left.
You got to see the video. The video is even better because her expressions are golden. We're going to have to survive this with levity, a lot of laughter. We're going to have to filter our content. We're going to have to not look at some of the serious stuff that's getting ready to come across social media. I think I have the bandwidth to absorb one horrifying video in this process, and after that, I have to just shut it off and not absorb it. Because our mental health is going to be just as important to surviving this as our physical health. So laugh any way at all possible. Laugh. So in terms of election day, it just seems so irresponsible to me. I get it. A lot of people are concerned. And shout out to my friend Adriel Hampton. He tweeted this and made me really slow down enough to think about it. That if the Democrats delay the election now, that sets the precedent for Donald Trump delaying the election later. I'm just going to be honest with you folks. I don't know exactly how we pull off an election in the middle of a pandemic. I don't. Because here's what I didn't get a chance to say publicly that I'll tweet. I'll make sure as many people hear me say this because I think it's important. What we're facing is going to be a long-term pandemic, right? We've discussed that. But if the government isn't already making plans to deliver food to every single household, the next wave of, and I mean soon, I mean like in the next month, I think most people could probably find a way to feed themselves for about a month. Then after that, it's every man for himself. Man, woman, non-gender conforming individual for themselves. And the government must have a plan in place to feed every household in this country. Because if they don't, the next wave of infections are going to come from people who are just trying to feed their kids. because nobody's going to sit at home and watch their kids starve. That's when people are going to be like, that's when people are going to be like, fuck it, let's go. Let's put on the best mask that we can make and let's go find some food. And that's when you really are going to find the destabilization of our society. Okay. That's the second wave. The third wave is going to come when everyone thinks that everything is fine and everyone goes out. And yet we don't have a vaccine yet. So if he's talking about August and people start going out in August and we don't have a vaccine, we're going to see a third wave. Okay. And then going into the flu season again, you're talking about a potential fourth wave of this. Why am I saying this? I don't know. Shit. It just came to my mind. You know me. I just talk about shit. It comes to my mind and I talk about it. But I just think preparation is going to be the most critical thing here. And it's nothing that we can prepare for as individuals. We are not going to be able to stock up enough food to last a year off the grid. Okay. So that means we collectively as a society have got to figure this out. That's why we have a government. But when our government has been designed to serve corporations and not the people, we see everyone is panicking. All the people in government are panicking to provide for corporations during this time, and they're not putting any emphasis on what they're going to do for the people. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. This segment, I'm going to clip this portion, and I'm going to make just this portion public. The rest of the episode is going to stay for patrons because it's important for people to hear this. The government has created itself, has designed itself to serve corporations. And so we see they have an all hands on deck mentality with regards to corporations, but they've left Americans to fend for themselves. And so if the government doesn't very quickly change its mind in terms of how it looks at this disaster, this calamity in terms of the people, then we're going to have a Listen, okay, let me make it plain. You could save businesses as much as you want, but if the people don't have money nor the capacity to go out and consume, it's all going to be destroyed anyway. So this is one of the instances where bailing out corporations is not going to fix the problem. This is a situation where you have to bail out the people. Literally, you're going to have to deliver food to every address. You got to mobilize the post office. We were trying to think, and this is a recommendation somebody gave me on Twitter. Like, how do we make sure that every household gets food? Well, you do it through the post office. Who else delivers? You give these people hazard pay, you train them, you give them everything that they need to be healthy. You make sure they have suits, masks, whatever they need. I don't care what they need. They're going to be some essential workers who have to work during this time. We need to take care of them and make sure that it is commensurate with the type of sacrifice that they're making. We need to provide decontamination protocols for every single one of them, every person who goes out, not only for the sake of protecting themselves, but also protecting the people for whom they're delivering food. But people are not going to be able to go out and get food for their kids. And that's when shit really is going to hit the fan. And then number two, we got to get the universal basic income so people can consume. You really want all aspects of the economy to crash? The people are worried about casinos in Las Vegas. Fuck the casinos in Las Vegas. They've taken enough money. They're billionaires. Absolutely fuck the people who own that. Let's bail out the people who were employed there that are no longer getting checks. See, now I'm actually getting a little infuriated with this because of the absurdity that this government has designed itself so much so that it's going to capitulate and give everything to corporations, and it's still not going to solve the problem. The problem is that you got to put money into the hands of the people. You got to deliver food to the people so that they can fucking survive and not go out of their house to try to feed their kids. At best, every household has enough food for 2 weeks, maybe a month if we start intermittent fasting. I'm serious. And the government isn't even making plans like this. That's because this government has been designed to serve corporations and not the people. And in a crisis like this, they absolutely have to serve the people. All right, moving on.
Pretty white TT, pretty white TT, pretty white TT, pretty white TT, pretty white TT.
Hey Ben, this is Michael calling from Virginia. I just want to talk a bit about how my family's been
during this COVID-19 crisis that we're going through. My dad's not taking it well, and he's going through a panic himself, and it also doesn't help that he has to go through a surgery, and by the end of this month, a treating aneurysm. So I don't know how that's going to happen. And what sucks about it is that I don't even know if I'm going to be able to go in and to go in with him while he does the surgery. So it's just a mixture of emotions going on right now, and I have no idea what to make of it, and I'm gonna get through this. So this is a dark time for all of us right now, and I just can't wait for all of this is over with. So, I hope you and your family are doing okay, and that's all I got to say. So take care, and thank you for doing what you do. You're doing a great job.
Thank you, man.
Godspeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Man, listen, and this is the other part of the equation. All right. I need you. We're to handle this. We're going to all have to be a little bit more emotionally mature than we actually probably give ourselves credit for. We're able to handle this. We can handle this. We're strong enough to handle this. We're built to handle this. But we're going to have to confront this head on. And what I mean by more emotionally mature than what we give ourselves credit for, we're going to have to be able to accept our emotions as they come. Kind of like what I demonstrate in this show. When I need to laugh, I'm just going to laugh. When I need to cry, I don't really let you guys know in on when I'm crying, but I do. I just cry. When I need to scream, I scream. When I need to talk about the social, political, geopolitical, or political economy of this, we talk about it. We get furious with the government. We get outraged. We get angry. We get to the point of a revolution. And then we realize that sometimes people just need to know that we're here with you, that we care about you, that you're not by yourself. Even if we can't touch each other, we are still connected. I'm concerned about you and your dad, and the emotional distress that you feel not being able to be there with him. I want you to know that I'm here with you, and that all of our listeners are here with you, and that anyone on Twitter, like, these connections are meaningful. I think that's the message. I want you to understand that what we do here on this podcast is meaningful. The time that we spend together is meaningful. It helps me. It's therapy for me, right? And I feel like I'm a use to you. Otherwise, I don't think you would be here. And that connection is useful. On Twitter, I like to talk to you. I want to engage with you. I want to wonder where you are when I don't see you for a day or two, right? And I think that those are meaningful relationships. I don't think that they're fly by night. I think they're meaningful bonds that can help us through these difficult times. So just love each other. Love each other. Regardless, be honest with you, regardless of who you vote for. I don't care who you vote for. I don't honestly, I want Donald Trump to win. Not the election. I want him to lose the election. Let's be clear. Okay, no, I got to go back and edit that because motherfuckers will take that out of context. Let me go back. No, I don't know. Am I going to go back and edit that? I don't want him to win the election. I want him to win the coronavirus fight. We need him to. So I'm not going to be engaged like politically spinning things. When he says something stupid, then it's stupid and we call him out. But I'm not going to spin things around the coronavirus. I'm not going to do it. I need Donald Trump to win this coronavirus fight because that means we all win. So the partisanship, to a certain degree, goes out of the window. Now, I'm always Johnny on the spot, and I'm always ready to give a critique that's reasonable and that's rational and that's in good faith and pithy. And I might throw in a little profanity here for a little pizzazz and a little, of my African-American vernacular just to put a little sauce on it. I'm always ready for that. But at the end of the day, I need Donald Trump to win this fight against Corona. And anyone else, anybody who thinks anything else other than that, there's something wrong with you. There is no political victory here unless we all win. Now, vote his ass out in November, but I need him not to be the moron that he's currently being. Which has absolutely nothing to do with the people I just got through fussing at. It has everything to do with the fact that we have a moron in the White House who's more absorbed with his personal ego than he is the safety of Americans. And then we have an entire regime that surrounds him that's more obsessed with protecting corporations than the average people. So to a certain extent, we're screwed. But to another extent, we absolutely have each other, and we are strong enough to survive this. And a lot of people are going to be hurt. A lot of people are going to, if things go the way they look like they're going, a lot of people are going to die, and we're going to have to be strong enough to absorb this moment. We're going to have to be. And I think a core part of that is by me and you and all of us letting each other know that we absolutely, you matter to me. Can I just be honest with you? You fucking matter to me, caller, listener. I am concerned about you, your well-being, how you're holding up, your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, and it matters to me that you make it through this okay. That honestly, oh God, that fucking matters to me. So, that said, whatever you all need, holler at me as much as I can help with anything. The best thing I have for you is for you, a place for you to talk about this. I can get the word out about stuff. You know what I mean? There's some things that I can do. I'm not going to fundraise on this. I am not going to try to put an organization to be no. There are organizations who have been doing crisis response for years, and we'll support those. And I just want to say this again. Anybody who's out here fundraising, all of a sudden now they are going to be a COVID response team. Yeah, you might want to really think about that. Because, I mean, think again, I'm going to dilute what I just said and try to obfuscate what I'm really talking about by referring to the Red Cross. Look at the Red Cross and what they did in Haiti. So be careful who you give your money to. I'm not going to raise money off of this, even though I know we could probably do a little bit of good. I know there's organizations who could do a lot of good. So we're going to promote those organizations. But in terms of what I can do well and what I could do for us, we absolutely just have to make sure that we are looking out for each other and that we're touching each other, rhetorically speaking. Keep your hands to yourself otherwise. That we're reaching out and touching each other through the internet, through these podcasts, through our communications, through our media, and letting each other know that, one, we love each other. Fundamentally, love all of you. Two, that we're here for you and we're here for each other. Hell, I'm going to need you to be here for me. There's going to be times in this process where I'm not going to be as strong as I need to be, or that I hope that I can be. And I'm going to need you all to be there for me, right? If you see me tweeting something that seems a little irate, something that seems a little out of character, show me some love and help me and bring me back. But we really, honestly, this is going to be a critical time for us to love each other, regardless of political persuasion, whether you're a progressive, a communist, a leftist, a centrist, a liberal, a conservative, whatever you're, just as long as you're coming to us in good faith, we need to be kind to one another. And then obviously we're always trigger happy. We're always our trigger finger is itchy. We're always ready to go back to war, politically speaking. But I think one of the critical things that we need in this moment is some type of compassion, empathy, and love. Go ahead and light your lighters. Light your lighters all over the building. I literally had my lighter lit. I'm so unnecessary. What I appreciate about the Patron show is that you honestly allow me to be as stupid as I really am. And not to I'm showing a side of myself to you all that I don't show many people at all. I think my wife and maybe my kids every now and then, and maybe my closest friends really know that most of the day, I really have a day full of SpongeBob moments. I vacillate between being as unfunny, but trying to be funny, silly, like SpongeBob, because SpongeBob was never really funny to me. Okay, I'll just be honest, it was never funny to me. But I vacillate between being downright silly to be worrying about the end of the universe. That's how my day goes. And the fact that I get to show that to you, the patrons, I appreciate it because I've been hiding it for many years, and it's cathartic. So that's why I do this show, because it's therapy for me, because I do have issues underlying all of this so-called genius that you guys think I have. But anyway, I digress. I do believe that this would be the one episode that I'm going to let be public facing, because I really want people to hear those two messages. The two core messages out of this episode is that, one, the government is going to have to fundamentally change, or else it's going to destroy itself. That's number one. Number two, for us to survive this, man, we got to show a level of fucking love and compassion and empathy that we're just not used to showing, right? We're going to have to show that love and compassion and empathy at a distance, because we can't be amongst each other right now. But when these videos start coming around of people pleading for help because their auntie is sick in the bedroom and there's nobody to come and help them, we're going to need a level of compassion and concern for each other to make sure that nobody is in this by themselves, right? You may be in your apartment by yourself, but you are not in this by yourself. We're here with you. We're here for you. We can listen to you. We literally can listen to your voice. You could put a video out and we can hear you, right? You could send us a voicemail and we can share that voicemail. You are as connected now. You're probably more connected now than ever before. I think we downplay the meaningfulness of these online relationships, these online friendships, these online, acquaintances. Hell, I mean, a random user that has like 3 followers that is reaching out to me because they're having a hard time, they're just as important to me as somebody from MSNBC who wants me to come on and be a guest. We have to have that level of compassion where there's no big I's and little U's, that we're all fucking human beings. We're all fragile. We're all frail. we all could be here today and gone tomorrow. And so all of these positions in life and society and all these castes and all of these, these echelons, you're the upper, you're the rich, you're upper class, you're upper middle class, you've got all of those distinctions are irrelevant at this point. We are all eventually going to be stuck at home trying to find a way to cope with this new reality. This is a great equalizer. We are all in a position where we're trying to cope with isolation. And in that kind of circumstance, I think the love that we share with each other is like by far one of the most powerful things that we can have in this moment. But in addition to a robust response from the government, right? Get your ass together, DC. Okay, last but not least, just want to stargaze with you for a few moments. Actually, I owe one of the patrons, I owe you a call back because we were discussing via email some of these things. But so here's how I believe ultimately this is going to change. We have one or two options of how this changes us. We are going to survive this. Now, I'm confident about that. We are going to survive. Our system is going to be tested. It's going to be stretched. It damn near may implode. But what's required for us to survive is something that can benefit us in the long run in a very significant fashion. And I think if we seize this opportunity to just change how we treat each other and change how the government treats us, then we can set ourselves on a trajectory for great things. I have to give you this now. This is premature. This is absolutely premature. But maybe I should say this until after we get over the hump. The hump is going to be hard. The hump of when the reality sets in of all the people who've been partying and got infected. That's going to be difficult. And maybe that's why I want to go ahead and show you how I think this is going to end so that you can be hopeful. In my mind, I see this changing society fundamentally. It's going to have to. We have a choice. We either change or we die as a society. And, you know, we'll be here individually. A lot of us will be alive. It'd just be, you know, if the government doesn't change, we could have chaos. And what the government has to change is its fundamental position towards the working class, towards laborers, towards consumers, towards everyone who makes this system work. The government is going to have to take care of us first. And that is going to empower so many people to just look at the world differently. After 6 months of being inside and not working for the system, you're going to your relationship. I'm going to make sure that your relationship with the system is going to be fundamentally different. We don't go back to normal after this. I refuse to go back to normal after this. I refuse to go back to a society that is not preparing for the eventual and the plausible eventuality. We do not go back to a society that is on a collision course with climate disaster. We just do not. We will not. There's no way in hell we allow that to happen. Because then shame on us. Because we as a body politic, we as a collective group of people, we see what has happened with this current regime. This current regime did not prepare us for any of this. It did not. It's not prepared for this. It is not prepared to handle this. And so we're in crisis mode right now. A lot of people are going to be, unfortunately, if we don't get it together, a lot of people are going to die. But when this is over with, shame on us if we let this country and this world go back to where it was, to what it was doing beforehand, the way it treated working people, the way it treated marginalized communities, hell, the way it treated international communities, the developing world, the way it treated the global South. All of this has to change. It doesn't mean we're going to have a utopia. Absolutely not. Right? We're still going to have problems. There are going to always be greedy people. There are going to always be people who engage in bad faith. There's going to always be people who are willing to drop bombs for a couple of dollars. But we can get a foothold in society for something better, where we don't treat each other as tools to be exploited, as objects to be exploited for profit, but we look at each other and treat each other as individual human beings that have a unique contribution to this society, and that we need to look out for every individual as much as we would look out for ourselves. I think we could sow that seed. It's wishful thinking, but that's the only thing that I have to cling on to that as we get ready to go through the hump, as we get ready to go through the difficult time, the surge of people who are going to need medical assistance and they won't be able to get it because our system is teetering on collapse. And even as I say those words, I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that I can go back and be like, remember when we were so scared of the coronavirus? Man, it didn't even do nothing. Like 5 people died. I really wish that could be the story. These are the times that try men's souls, but these are the times that I hope that I could be wrong more than anything else, right? I just hope that everything that we're saying is absolutely wrong. But if it isn't, hold on to the fact that the world that we will create after this will be a world that prepares for the eventual, a world that treats each other with it. It's not going to be a utopia. No, I'm not foolish enough to believe that. I'm not foolish enough to think that it's going to be kumbaya. I'm not foolish enough to think that it's going to be easy. But goddamn it, if I don't believe that we could do better, then what's the point? What is the point of surviving this? If we do not believe that we can emerge as a better society, what is the point of surviving this? And I'm going to survive this. So we're going to have a better society. And we are going to each do our part to do that. And part of that is loving each other through this and making sure that we look out for each other. Share some love on Twitter today. Share some love on social media. Tell somebody that you love them. Tell somebody that you're worried about them, that you're concerned about them, that you're concerned about their well-being. Be mindful of, be thoughtful. Think of somebody else more than yourself today. And you probably do that every day if you're a listener of mine, because I really just admire my listeners. They have a certain je ne sais quoi about them. They're fighters. but they're also lovers. They love people. But if I got to fight you, when you can be kind, you know the saying, when you can be kind, be kind. When you can't, take no prisoners. And right now, it's a time to be kind to one another. I'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Take care.